My dear friend, have you ever stood at a crossroads wondering if God has forgotten you or if your prayers have been lost in the wind? The Bible tells us in Psalm 139:16, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. This is no ordinary moment in your life. You didn't stumble here by chance. Heaven doesn't work by accident. Right now, God has guided your steps to this sacred moment where something eternal is stirring. Your heart may feel heavy, your path uncertain, but I tell you, God has a purpose for you today. Before we begin, I invite you to like this message, subscribe for more, and type amen in the comments if you believe God has a word for you today. Let me tell you about a man named Joseph, sold into slavery, cast into prison, forgotten by those he helped. Years passed and it seemed God's promise had faded. But in Genesis 41, we see God's divine timing unveiled. In a single day, Joseph went from prisoner to prime minister because God had orchestrated every step. My friend, your life is no different. You may feel stuck, overlooked, or abandoned, but God is moving in ways you cannot see. That job you lost, that door that closed, that prayer unanswered, none of it was wasted. God has been aligning your steps, not to frustrate you, but to position you for a divine appointment. Think about a woman I heard of recently, a single mother struggling to provide for her children. For years, she prayed for a breakthrough, working long hours, trusting God through tears. One day, out of nowhere, a stranger offered her a job that doubled her income. It wasn't luck, it was God's timing. She had been faithful, and God had been working behind the scenes. My friend, what feels like a delay in your life is God's preparation. He's setting the stage for a moment that will change everything. The question is, are you ready to trust His timing? You see, divine timing isn't about your schedule. It's about God's sovereignty. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. That means every disappointment, every tear, every sleepless night has been woven into God's eternal plan. You're not late. You're not forgotten. You're standing on the edge of a breakthrough, and God is saying, trust me. Don't let doubt rob you of this moment. Don't let impatience pull you away from God's plan. Your life is about to shift because heaven has marked this time for you. I remember a time in my own life when I faced a closed door. I had preached in small churches, wondering if God would ever open a larger stage. But I learned that God's timing is perfect. When I surrendered my plans, He opened doors I could never have imagined. You may be in that place today wondering if God sees you. He does. He's been watching every step, and He's preparing something greater than you can dream. So what will you do with this moment? Will you trust that God is orchestrating your life, even when you can't see it? I'm calling you today to surrender your doubts to Jesus. Lay them at the foot of the cross. Pray right now, Lord, I trust your timing. I believe you're working for my good. Don't rush past this sacred moment. God has brought you here because something is about to shift. Your steps are guided by a divine hand, and heaven is whispering your name. Trust Him, my friend. Trust. My dear friend, you're not just passing through another day. You're standing on holy ground, where God is ready to move in your life. Exodus 3:5 tells us when God spoke to Moses from the burning bush, He said, take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Right now, your life is that sacred place. The struggles, the waiting, the prayers you've whispered in the dark, they brought you to the edge of a breakthrough. God has marked this moment, and something eternal is about to unfold. Let me tell you about a young woman named Sarah, who felt her life was stuck. She prayed for years to start a family, but month after month, her hopes were dashed. Yet she kept praying, kept trusting, even when her heart ached. One day a doctor's visit revealed not just a pregnancy, but twins, a double blessing. That moment wasn't random, it was sacred, prepared by God. My friend, your life may feel ordinary, but God is setting the stage for extraordinary moments. The tears you've cried, the doors that closed, they weren't accidents. They were divine steps leading you to this holy ground. What makes a moment sacred? It's not the absence of struggle, but the presence of God. In John 11, Martha stood before Jesus, grieving Lazarus' death. She thought it was too late, but Jesus declared, I am the resurrection and the life. In one sacred moment, Lazarus walked out of the tomb. Your situation may look dead, your dreams, your finances, your relationships, but God specializes in bringing life to what seems lost. You're standing at a divine intersection where heaven is about to speak. Have you ever noticed how the air feels still before a storm? That's how it is before God moves. The silence, the waiting, it's not emptiness, it's expectation. Right now, God is aligning people, conversations, and opportunities you can't yet see. That job interview, that unexpected call, that moment of clarity, it's all part of His plan. But you must stay sensitive to His Spirit. Don't let the noise of this world, social media, worry or doubt drown out His voice. You're on holy ground and God is near. I recall a time when a farmer in a small town faced ruin after a drought. He prayed, trusting God despite barren fields. One day, a stranger offered to buy his land at a price that saved his family. That wasn't luck, it was a sacred moment, orchestrated by God. Your life is no different. The delays, the disappointments, they're not denials, they're divine setups, positioning you for a breakthrough that will redefine your future. So what will you choose today? Will you stand on this holy ground with faith, or will you walk away in doubt? Hebrews 11:6 says, without faith it is impossible to please God. God is calling you to trust Him, to believe this moment is sacred. Don't rush past it. Don't let fear or frustration pull you away. I'm urging you to pray right now. Lord, open my eyes to see your presence. Help me stand firm on this holy ground. Surrender your heart to Him. Lift your hands in worship even if they're trembling. This is your moment to meet God, to step into the breakthrough He's prepared. The enemy wants you to believe this is just another day, but it's not. Heaven has marked this time. You're not here by chance, you're here by divine appointment. God is about to swing open doors that have been shut for years. Your prayers, your faithfulness, they've reached His throne. Stand ready, my friend. This sacred moment is yours and God is moving. My dear friend, as you stand on this holy ground, know that God is working behind the scenes, aligning every detail of your life with His eternal purpose. In Isaiah 55:8-9, the Lord declares, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways. You may not see it, but God is quietly, purposefully, powerfully orchestrating your path. The delays you face, the doors that seemed locked, the moments of silence, they're not random. They're part of God's divine preparation, setting you up for a breakthrough you could never imagine. Let me tell you about a man named David. Not the king, but a factory worker I heard of. For years, he toiled in a dead-end job, praying for a way to provide better for his family. He faced setbacks, layoffs, missed promotions, financial strain, yet he kept trusting God, serving in his church and praying in the quiet of his home. One day, a colleague recommended him for a managerial role he hadn't even applied for. That job changed his life, lifting his family out of debt. It wasn't chance, it was God's silent preparation, aligning opportunities David couldn't see. In the Bible, we see this with Esther, an orphan girl, far from royalty, yet God was working behind the scenes. In Esther 4:14, Mordecai tells her, who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Her life seemed ordinary, but God was aligning her steps to save a nation. My friend, your life is no different. That closed door, that missed opportunity, that moment of confusion, it's not chaos. It's God's hand moving pieces into place. He's aligning conversations, people, and circumstances to position you for His purpose. Have you ever wondered why things haven't happened yet? Why the job, the healing, the restoration you've prayed for seems delayed? It's because God's preparation is precise. He doesn't rush. He's aligning your life with heaven's timing, and His timing is perfect. Romans 8:28 promises, in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Every disappointment, every tear, every sleepless night is being woven into a divine tapestry. God is preparing something greater than you can see. I recall a time when I preached in a small town, unsure if my words were making a difference. I felt discouraged, wondering if God was working. But years later, a man approached me saying that sermon led him to Christ, changing his family's legacy. God was working behind the scenes even when I couldn't see it. Your life is the same. The prayers you prayed, the faithfulness you've shown, God sees it all. He's aligning things you can't yet trace, preparing a breakthrough that will leave you in awe. So what will you do with this truth? Will you trust that God is working even in the silence? The enemy wants you to believe you're forgotten, but God is saying, I'm preparing something glorious. Don't let doubt steal your faith. Don't let impatience pull you from God's plan. I'm calling you to pray right now. Lord, I trust your unseen work. Help me wait with faith. Lift your heart to Him. Surrender your need to understand every detail. God's preparation is perfect and He's moving on your behalf. He may tell you to take control, to force your way forward, but God calls you to trust. He's aligning rooms you haven't entered, conversations you haven't heard, and opportunities with your name on them. Your job is to stay faithful, to keep praying, to keep believing. The breakthrough is coming, my friend, because God's preparation never fails. My dear friend, as God works behind the scenes, aligning your life with His eternal purpose, know that He is scheduling divine appointments that will redefine your destiny. In Acts 9, we read of Saul, a man fiercely opposed to God's people, struck down on the road to Damascus. In a single moment, God transformed him into Paul, the apostle who would carry the gospel to the nations. That was no random encounter. It was a divine appointment orchestrated by heaven. You too are standing at the threshold of moments that are not just chance meetings or fleeting opportunities, but divine appointments crafted in heaven's secret chambers, designed to shift your life forever. Let me share the story of a woman named Maria, a teacher who felt her career was stagnant. She prayed for purpose, but years passed with no change. One day at a community event, she met a school principal who offered her a role leading a program for at-risk youth. That moment wasn't luck, it was a divine appointment, prepared by God to align her with her calling. My friend, your life is filled with such moments waiting to unfold. The people you meet, the conversations you have, the doors that open. They're not accidents. God is scheduling appointments that will change your trajectory. What makes a divine appointment? It's not just a good opportunity, it's a God-ordained moment. In Luke 19:1-10, Zacchaeus climbed a tree to see Jesus, not knowing that day would change his life. Jesus called him by name, dined in his home, and salvation came to his household. That was a divine appointment, perfectly timed by God. Your appointments may not look dramatic. They may come as a phone call, a kind word, or an unexpected opportunity, but they carry eternal weight. God is aligning these moments to lead you into His purpose. Have you ever wondered why certain people cross your path or why certain doors open at just the right time? It's because God is the master scheduler. He's not bound by your calendar or your impatience. Psalm 37:23 says, the steps of a righteous man are ordered by the Lord. Every step you take, every delay you face is part of God's divine orchestration. That job you didn't get, that relationship that ended, it wasn't to harm you, but to position you for the appointment God has planned. Trust Him, my friend, He's working even now. I recall a time when a young man approached me after a crusade, discouraged because his business had failed. I encouraged him to trust God's timing. Months later, he wrote to me, sharing how a chance meeting with a mentor led to a new venture that surpassed his wildest dreams. That was a divine appointment, prepared by God. Your life is no different. The moments you're walking into are not random, they're divine, carrying the power to redefine your future. So what will you choose today? Will you walk with eyes open to God's appointments, or will you miss them in your hurry? The enemy wants you to dismiss these moments as coincidence, but God is calling you to discernment. Pray right now, Lord, open my eyes to your divine appointments. Help me walk in your purpose. Surrender your plans to Him. Stay sensitive to His Spirit, because these moments are not just for your week or your month, they're for your destiny. Don't let doubt or distraction pull you away. God is scheduling something greater than you can imagine, and it's closer than you think. Keep your heart ready, your faith strong, and your steps aligned with His will. Your divine appointment is coming, and it will change everything. My dear friend, As God schedules divine appointments to redefine your destiny, know that every delay, every disappointment, every closed door has been part of His divine plan to position you for His purpose. In Genesis 50:20, Joseph, after years of betrayal and hardship, told his brothers, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." What looked like setbacks in Joseph's life, slavery, imprisonment, rejection, were divine delays orchestrated by God to lead him to a moment of eternal impact. My friend, the delays you faced are not denials, they're divine, preparing you for the breakthrough God has planned. Let me tell you about a man named Thomas, a small business owner who faced one setback after another. His store was failing, bills were piling up, and he felt God had forgotten him. Yet he kept praying, kept tithing, kept trusting. One day, a customer, moved by Thomas's kindness, connected him with a supplier who transformed his business. That wasn't luck, it was God turning delays into divine alignment. Your life is no different. That missed opportunity, that unanswered prayer, that closed door, it's not the end. God is using every moment to position you for His plan. Have you ever wondered why God allows delays? Why the job hasn't come, the healing hasn't arrived, or the dream hasn't materialized? It's because God's timing is perfect. Romans 5:6 says, "At just the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly." If God's timing was perfect for your salvation, won't He also be perfect in your circumstances? Every delay is a divine setup, aligning you with heaven's purpose. The pain you've endured, the tears you've cried, they've been filtered through God's sovereignty, preparing you for what's next. I recall a time when I faced a delay in ministry. A major crusade was postponed, and I questioned God's plan. But during that delay, God led me to a small church where a single sermon sparked a revival. That delay wasn't a setback, it was divine. Your delays are the same. God is working in the waiting, aligning people, resources, and opportunities you can't yet see. He's not punishing you, He's positioning you. So, what will you choose today? Will you trust God in the delays? Or will you let frustration steal your faith? The enemy wants you to believe God has forgotten you. But God is saying, "I'm working all things for your good." Don't give up now. Don't turn back. I'm calling you to pray, "Lord, I trust your divine delays. Help me wait with faith." Surrender your timeline to Him. Lift your hands in worship, even when it hurts. Your delays are not wasted. They're sacred, preparing you for a breakthrough. The world tells you to force your way forward, to take control, but God calls you to trust. Psalm 27:14 says, "Wait for the Lord, be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord." Every closed door, every missed call, every tear has been part of God's plan to lead you to this moment. The breakthrough is coming, not because of your effort, but because of His faithfulness. Keep your heart open, your faith strong, and your trust unwavering. God's divine delays are leading you to His divine appointment. My dear friend, as God uses every delay to position you for His divine appointments, He is also recalibrating your heart to receive the blessings He has prepared. In Philippians 4:6-7, the Apostle Paul writes, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." God is not just aligning opportunities, He's aligning your posture, ensuring your heart is ready to carry the weight of His promises. You cannot step into a divine moment with a bitter spirit or a heart chained to past disappointment. Let me share the story of a woman named Rachel, who faced years of heartbreak after a painful divorce. She carried resentment, questioning why God allowed her suffering. But through prayer and surrender, she began to forgive, to release the hurt. One day, she volunteered at a local shelter, where she met a man who shared her faith and vision. They married, and together they built a ministry that touched countless lives. That wasn't chance, it was God recalibrating her heart, preparing her for a divine appointment. My friend, God is doing the same for you, cleansing your heart of bitterness, refining your faith to receive what's coming. Have you ever considered what's holding you back? Is it anger, unforgiveness, or fear of being hurt again? In Matthew 5:8, Jesus says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." A pure heart sees God's plan clearly, but a heart weighed down by resentment cannot carry his blessings. God is working in this quiet season, shifting your expectations, stretching your faith, and purifying your motives. He's preparing you not just for a blessing, but for a life that glorifies him. I remember a time when I struggled with disappointment. A ministry opportunity I prayed for fell through, and I felt God had let me down. But in that season, God showed me my heart needed refining. My motives were mixed with pride. Through prayer, he cleansed me, and soon after, he opened doors far greater than I imagined. Your heart is being prepared in the same way. God is removing doubt, fear, and bitterness, aligning your posture with his purpose. He wants you ready to carry his glory. So what will you choose today? Will you let God purify your heart, or will you cling to old wounds? The enemy wants you to stay bitter, but God is calling you to release the past. Pray right now, Lord, cleanse my heart. Help me surrender my hurts to you. Let go of resentment. Forgive those who've wronged you. Trust that God is making your heart ready for his divine appointments. Don't let a hardened heart block your breakthrough. The world tells you to hold grudges, to protect yourself, but God calls you to surrender. Psalm 51:10 says, "Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." God is recalibrating your internal compass, aligning your heart with his will. That disappointment, that betrayal, it's not the end. It's part of God's process to prepare you for something greater. Keep your heart soft, your faith strong, and your eyes on Jesus. Your divine appointment is coming, and your heart will be ready to receive it. My dear friend, as God recalibrates your heart to receive his blessings, know that his divine appointments are not given to the comfortable, but entrusted to the faithful who endure discomfort for his sake. In Hebrews 11:8, we read, "By faith Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going." Abraham left everything familiar, stepping into the unknown because he trusted God. My friend, your discomfort, your stretching, your unfamiliar season, it's not disorder, it's divine alignment. God is calling you to a faith that dares to move beyond comfort into his purpose. Let me tell you about a man named James, a construction worker who felt God calling him to start a small Bible study. He was shy, untrained, and his friends mocked him. Yet he stepped out, hosting meetings in his garage despite his fears. That small act of faith grew into a thriving community outreach, touching hundreds of lives. James's discomfort wasn't punishment. It was preparation for a divine appointment. Your life is no different. The challenges you face, the stretching you feel, they're signs God is aligning you for something greater. Have you ever wondered why God's call feels so uncomfortable? Why the path to your promise is filled with trials? It's because divine appointments don't follow earthly logic. In Luke 1, Mary was called to carry Jesus, but the journey was far from easy, traveling miles on a donkey, facing shame as an unwed mother. Yet her faith carried her through discomfort to destiny. Your struggles are not a sign of God's absence, but of his presence, preparing you for a purpose only he can see. I recall a time when I preached in a city where the crowd was small, and the response seemed cold. I felt out of place, questioning God's call. But one young woman came forward, tears in her eyes, saying, "My words gave her hope to keep living." That moment taught me that God's appointments often come in discomfort, not ease. Your season of stretching is the same. It's God shaping you for his glory. So what will you choose today? Will you embrace the discomfort as God's preparation, or will you shrink back in fear? The enemy wants you to mistake stretching for chaos, but God is saying, trust me in the tension. Pray right now. Lord, give me faith to endure discomfort. Help me trust your plan. Step out in obedience even when it feels risky. Let go of the need for comfort and cling to God's call. Your divine appointment is waiting, but it requires a heart willing to move beyond ease. The world tells you to seek comfort, to avoid pain, but God calls you to faith. James 1:2-3, says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Your discomfort is building spiritual strength, preparing you for the blessings God has planned." Don't run from it. Embrace it. Keep your eyes on Jesus, your heart open, and your faith unwavering. The divine appointment coming your way will be worth every moment of stretching. My dear friend, as you embrace the discomfort that aligns you with God's divine appointments, know that every ounce of pain you've endured has a purpose, filtered through the sovereign hands of a loving God. In Romans 8:28, we are promised, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Your tears, your losses, your lonely nights, they haven't been wasted. God has woven every moment of suffering into His eternal plan, preparing you for a divine appointment that carries His glory. Your pain is not the end, it's the pathway to His purpose. Let me tell you about a woman named Clara who lost her husband to illness and faced financial ruin. She questioned God, feeling abandoned in her grief. Yet she clung to her faith, serving in her church and praying through her pain. One day, a neighbor, moved by her resilience, connected her with a ministry that provided not only financial help, but a platform to share her story, inspiring others. That wasn't chance. It was God using her pain to position her for purpose. Your struggles, my friend, are no different. They're part of God's divine filter, shaping you for what's coming. Have you ever asked, why God, why this pain, this loss, this trial? The Bible shows us Job, a man who lost everything, family, wealth, health. Yet in Job 42:10 we read, after Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. Your pain has a purpose. The betrayal, the failure, the heartbreak, they're not random. God is using them to refine you, to align you with His plan. Every tear has been seen, every wound recorded in heaven's ledger. I recall a time when I faced personal loss, wondering if God was still near. In that dark season, I leaned on Him, and He led me to minister to others in pain. Through my hurt, God birthed a deeper compassion in me, opening doors I never could have planned. Your pain is the same. It's not punishment. It's preparation. God is filtering every trial through His sovereignty, ensuring it serves His purpose. He's making you ready for a divine appointment that will reveal His faithfulness. So what will you choose today? Will you trust that God is using your pain for His glory, or will you let bitterness steal your faith? The enemy wants you to believe your suffering is pointless, but God says it's purposeful. Pray right now, Lord, I trust You with my pain. Use it for Your purpose. Surrender your hurts to Him. Let go of the why and embrace the who. Jesus, who sees every tear and promises to redeem it. Your pain is not in vain, it's aligning you with God's plan. The world tells you pain is failure, but God says it's formation. Psalm 34:18 says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Your brokenness is where God works most powerfully. He's crafting a testimony through your trials, preparing you for a divine appointment that will not only bless you, but glorify Him. Keep your heart open, your faith strong, and your trust in His sovereignty. Your pain has a purpose, and your breakthrough is near. My dear friend, as God weaves your pain into His divine purpose, know that your obedience in this season is the key that unlocks miracles, releasing the supernatural power of heaven into your life. In John 2:5, at the wedding in Cana, Mary told the servants, "Do whatever He tells you." Their simple act of obedience, filling jars with water, led to Jesus turning water into wine, a miracle that revealed His glory. Your obedience, even in small steps, is the bridge between your current season and the divine appointments God has planned. Before July 7, your yes to God will unleash breakthroughs you cannot yet imagine. Let me share the story of a man named Michael, a mechanic who felt God nudging him to help a struggling neighbor. He was busy, his own finances tight, but he obeyed, offering free repairs for her car. That act of kindness led to a conversation with her brother, a businessman who offered Michael a contract that transformed his shop's future. That wasn't luck, It was a miracle sparked by obedience. My friend, your obedience is the spark that ignites God's miracles. The prayers you've whispered, the faith you've held on to, they're about to intersect with heaven's power. Have you ever wondered what might happen if you fully obeyed God's voice even when it seems risky? In 1 Kings 17, the widow of Zarephath obeyed Elijah's request to give her last bit of food, trusting God's promise. That obedience led to a miracle. Her oil and flour never ran out. Your obedience, no matter how small it seems, carries eternal weight. God is watching your response in this season, aligning miracles with your trust. That step of faith, that act of surrender, it's the key to unlocking doors no man can shut. I recall a time when God prompted me to preach in a place where I felt unqualified. I hesitated, fearing failure, but I obeyed. That night, lives were changed, and I saw God move in ways I couldn't have planned. Your obedience is no different. It's not about having all the answers. It's about trusting the one who does. God is calling you to obey now, maybe to forgive someone, to start something new, to let go of a habit. Whatever it is, your yes will release His power. So what will you choose today? Will you obey God's voice, or will you let fear hold you back? The enemy wants you to delay, to doubt, but God is saying move in faith. Pray right now, Lord, give me courage to obey you fully. Let my yes unlock your miracles. Step out even if your knees tremble. Trust that God's plan is greater than your fears. Your obedience is the currency of heaven, and it's about to purchase a breakthrough. The world tells you to wait for perfect conditions, but God calls you to act in faith. James 2:17 says, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Your obedience brings your faith to life, aligning you with God's miracles. Before July 7, heaven is waiting for your response. That small step, that quiet yes, it's the key to a supernatural shift. Keep your heart ready, your faith active, and your trust unwavering. Your obedience will unlock miracles that will glorify God and change your life. My dear friend, as your obedience unlocks the miracles God has prepared, know that He often hides the details of His plan to protect your destiny from your own attempts to control it. In Proverbs 3:5-6, we are urged, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. When God conceals His plan, it's not to confuse you, but to keep you from self-sabotage. Divine alignment often feels like divine abandonment, but it's the moment heaven is working hardest on your behalf. Your trust in God's hidden plan is the key to stepping into His divine appointment. Let me tell you about a woman named Elizabeth, a nurse who dreamed of opening a clinic to serve the poor. She prayed for years, but doors kept closing, and she grew frustrated, wondering if God had forgotten her. Yet she trusted, continuing to serve faithfully. One day, a stranger at her hospital overheard her story and connected her with a donor who funded her clinic. That wasn't chance, it was God's hidden plan unfolding at the perfect time. My friend, God is doing the same for you, working in rooms you haven't entered, aligning opportunities you can't yet see. Have you ever felt like God is silent, leaving you in the dark? In Genesis 22, Abraham was told to sacrifice Isaac, his promised son, with no explanation. He couldn't see God's plan, but he trusted, and God provided a ram at the last moment. Your life is no different. The silence, the uncertainty, it's not abandonment. It's God protecting your destiny. He hides the details, because if you saw everything, you might try to take control. Trust Him, my friend. He's aligning conversations, decisions, and resources with your name on them. I recall a time when I planned a crusade, but God led me to change the location at the last minute. I didn't understand why, but I obeyed. That change led to a revival that touched thousands. God's hidden plan was greater than my understanding. Your season of uncertainty is the same. God is working behind the scenes, and what feels like confusion is His divine strategy. He's preparing a breakthrough that will reveal His faithfulness. So what will you choose today? Will you trust God's hidden plan, or will you demand to see every step? The enemy wants you to lean on your own understanding, but God is calling you to faith. Pray right now, Lord, I trust your hidden plan. Lead me even when I can't see. Surrender your need to know everything. Rest in his sovereignty, knowing he's working for your good. Your divine appointment is being crafted in heaven's secret chambers, and it's closer than you think. The world tells you to demand clarity, to control your path, but God calls you to trust. Isaiah 55:9 says, "As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways." God's hidden plan is your protection, ensuring you step into his purpose at the right time. Keep your heart open, your faith strong, and your trust unwavering. The details may be hidden, but the promise is sure. God is aligning your destiny, and he will reveal it in his perfect time. My dear friend, as you trust in God's hidden plan, know that your obedience in this season is a powerful weapon, breaking the enemy's schemes and aligning you with heaven's victory. In Ephesians 6:12 we read, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realm." Your obedience doesn't just open doors, it destroys demonic patterns, cancels generational curses, and positions you for divine appointments. When you align with God's will, every force of hell trembles, because your yes to Jesus shatters the enemy's plan. Let me tell you about a man named Daniel, a father who battled addiction for years. The enemy whispered lies of despair, telling him he'd never break free. But Daniel surrendered to God, joining a church recovery program despite his shame. Through his obedience, God not only set him free, but used his testimony to lead others to Christ. That wasn't just recovery, it was a divine appointment, breaking cycles of bondage. My friend, your obedience is doing the same, dismantling the enemy's strongholds and aligning you with God's purpose. Have you ever felt the weight of spiritual opposition? The discouragement, the distractions, the delays, they're not random. The enemy intensifies his attacks when you're close to a breakthrough. In Mark 5, the woman with the issue of blood faced a crowd, years of suffering, and societal rejection. Yet her faith pushed her to touch Jesus' garment. In one obedient act, she was healed, breaking a cycle of pain. Your obedience, no matter how small, is a spiritual weapon, crushing the enemy's plans and unlocking God's favor. I recall a time when I faced fierce opposition before a crusade. Doubts flooded my mind and obstacles piled up. But I pressed forward in obedience, preaching despite the resistance. That night, hundreds came to Christ, and I saw the enemy's plans shattered. Your battles are no different. The pressure you feel is proof of your proximity to God's promise. Your obedience is warfare, aligning you with heaven and breaking every chain. So what will you choose today? Will you obey God, even in the face of opposition, or will you let the enemy's lies stop you? The devil wants you to believe you're too weak, too far gone, but God says your obedience is enough. Pray right now, Lord, I surrender to your will. Break every chain through my obedience. Step out in faith even when the enemy roars. Trust that God is fighting for you. Your yes to him is canceling curses and opening doors no man can shut. The world tells you to give up when it's hard, but God calls you to fight through obedience. 2 Corinthians 10:4 says, "The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds." Your obedience is a divine weapon, tearing down barriers and aligning you with God's appointments. Keep your heart steadfast, your faith fierce, and your trust unshaken. The enemy is panicking because you're almost there, and your obedience will lead you into victory. My dear friend, as your obedience shatters the enemy's schemes and aligns you with God's divine appointments, know that this season of stretching and pruning is not punishment but preparation, building the spiritual strength to carry the blessings God is about to release. In John 15:2, Jesus says, "He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes so that it will be even more fruitful." The trials you faced, the loneliness, the tears, they're God's pruning, strengthening your capacity for his purpose. Before July 7, he's building your spiritual muscles to sustain the divine appointments he's prepared. Let me share the story of a woman named Linda, a school teacher, who faced burnout and doubt about her calling. She felt God was silent, her efforts fruitless. Yet she continued praying and serving her students. One day, a former student reached out, now a successful author, crediting Linda's encouragement for his path. That moment revealed God's pruning. Her struggles were preparing her to impact lives eternally. My friend, your season of pruning is no different. The challenges are building your capacity for the breakthroughs God is aligning. Have you ever felt like God's silence is a sign of his absence? In 1 Samuel 16, David was anointed king, but years of running from Saul followed. Years of pruning in caves and wilderness. Yet those trials built the strength that made him a great king. Your loneliness, your struggles, they're not wasted. God is pruning pride, fear, and self-reliance, preparing you to carry his blessings with humility and faith. He's making you ready for a divine appointment that requires spiritual maturity. I recall a time when I faced a season of quiet in my ministry. Invitations slowed, and I wondered if God was done with me. But in that silence, God taught me dependence on him, strengthening my faith. When the next door opened, I was ready to carry it. Your pruning is the same. It's God building your spiritual muscles. The tears you've cried, the battles you've fought, they're watering something eternal. So, what will you choose today? Will you embrace God's pruning, or will you resist his refining work? The enemy wants you to see trials as defeat, but God says they're preparation. Pray right now. Lord, I trust your pruning. Build my strength for your purpose. Surrender to his process. Let go of the need to understand every cut. Your spiritual muscles are growing, preparing you for blessings you can't yet imagine. The world tells you to avoid pain, to seek ease, but God calls you to grow through pruning. Hebrews 12:11 says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace. Your struggles are producing a harvest aligning you with God's divine appointments. Keep your heart yielded, your faith rooted, and your trust steadfast. The pruning is temporary, but the fruit is eternal, and your breakthrough is near. My dear friend, as God prunes you to carry his blessings, know that he has assigned angels to guard the divine appointments he's prepared for you, ensuring no force can stop his plan. In Psalm 91:11 we read, for he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. Heaven is not passive. God has dispatched angelic protection to shield your path, to secure the moments he's orchestrated. Before July 7, as you walk in obedience, angels are watching over you, ensuring every step aligns with God's purpose. No man, no system, no opposition can block what heaven has decreed. Let me tell you about a man named Samuel, a truck driver who felt called to share his faith on the road. One night, stranded on a desolate highway after a breakdown, he prayed for safety. Out of nowhere, a mechanic appeared, fixed his truck, and refused payment, saying, God told me to help you. That wasn't chance, it was angelic protection, guarding Samuel's divine appointment to keep spreading the gospel. My friend, God's angels are guarding you too, ensuring you reach the moments he's planned, no matter the obstacles. Have you ever sensed a moment when danger was near, yet you were spared? In Daniel 6, Daniel faced a lion's den, but God sent his angel to shut the lion's mouths. That was divine protection, securing God's plan for Daniel's life. Your challenges, financial strain, broken relationships, closed doors, are no match for God's angels. They're moving on your behalf, clearing the path for your divine appointments. The delays, the attacks, the setbacks, they're under heaven's authority, and God's protection is over you. I recall a time when I was traveling to a crusade and our plane faced severe turbulence. Fear gripped me, but I prayed and we landed safely. Later I learned a mechanical issue was caught just in time. That was God's protection, ensuring his plan continued. Your life is no different. Angels are guarding your steps, shielding you from the enemy's schemes. The opposition you face is real, but God's power is greater. His angels are ensuring you reach your divine moment. So what will you choose today? Will you trust God's protection, or will you let fear stop you? The enemy wants you to believe you're vulnerable, but God says his angels are with you. Pray right now, Lord, thank you for your angelic protection. Keep me in your plan. Step forward in faith, knowing heaven is guarding you. Release your worries and trust God's promise. Your divine appointment is secure, protected by the hand of God. The world tells you to rely on your own strength, but God calls you to rest in His protection. Hebrews 1:14 says, "Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation?" Angels are serving you, ensuring God's plan unfolds. Keep your heart steadfast, your faith bold, and your trust unwavering. The enemy cannot stop what God has ordained, and your divine appointment is coming, guarded by heaven's hosts. My dear friend, as God's angels guard your path to His divine appointments, know that alignment with heaven gives you the discernment to distinguish between good opportunities and God-ordained moments. In 1 John 4:1, we are urged, dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. Not every open door is divine. Not every opportunity is appointed by heaven. God is calling you to align your spirit with His, so you can recognize the divine appointments He's prepared before July 7. Your discernment is the key to walking through the right door. Let me tell you about a woman named Grace, a young entrepreneur who faced a flood of business offers after years of struggle. Some seemed promising, but she prayed for guidance, sensing not all were from God. One offer, less glamorous, but aligned with her values, led to a partnership that transformed her community. That wasn't luck, it was discernment, born of alignment with God's Spirit. My friend, God is sharpening your discernment, helping you see the difference between what's good and what's God. Have you ever faced a choice that seemed right but felt wrong in your spirit? In Acts 16, Paul and Silas were kept by the Holy Spirit from preaching in Asia, though it seemed logical. Instead, God led them to Macedonia, where a divine appointment awaited with Lydia, sparking a revival. Your choices matter. The job, the relationship, the opportunity. They may look appealing, but only alignment with God reveals His perfect will. The enemy sends distractions to pull you from God's plan, but discernment keeps you on track. I recall a time when I was offered a platform that promised fame but required compromise. My spirit was uneasy, and through prayer, God gave me discernment to say no. Soon after, He opened a door that honored Him and reached more souls. Your decisions are no different. God is aligning your spirit to recognize His voice over the world's noise. That nudge, that unease, it's the Holy Spirit guiding you to the divine appointments He's prepared. So what will you choose today? Will you seek God's discernment, or will you rush into every open door? The enemy wants you to settle for good when God has great. Pray right now. Lord, give me discernment to see your divine appointments. Pause before decisions. Seek God's voice in prayer and His Word. Trust the Holy Spirit to guide you. Your alignment with heaven will lead you to doors no man can shut. The world tells you to seize every chance, but God calls you to discern His will. Proverbs 3:6 says, "In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." Discernment protects your destiny, ensuring you walk through God's appointed doors. Keep your heart tuned to His Spirit, your faith anchored in His Word, and your trust steadfast. Before July 7, God's divine appointments await, and your discernment will lead you to them. My dear friend, as your discernment guides you to God's divine appointments, know that your obedience in this sacred season will unlock a supernatural acceleration, propelling you into the destiny God has planned before July. In Isaiah 60:22, the Lord declares, "The least of you will become 1,000, the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord, and it's time I will do this swiftly." God's acceleration doesn't follow human timelines. It moves at heaven's pace, compressing years into days for those who surrender fully to Him. Your yes to God is the key to a divine shift that will change everything. Let me tell you about a man named John, a struggling artist who felt God calling him to create for His glory. Despite rejection and financial hardship, he obeyed, painting in faith. One day, a gallery owner saw his work at a small event and offered him a showcase that launched his career, impacting thousands. That wasn't luck, it was God's acceleration, triggered by John's obedience. My friend, your surrender is unlocking a similar shift. The prayers you've prayed, the seeds you've sown, they're about to bear fruit in ways you cannot imagine. Have you ever felt like time is running out, that your dreams are too far off? In Luke 5, Peter fished all night with no catch, but when Jesus told him to cast his nets again, he obeyed despite exhaustion. The result was a miraculous haul that nearly sank his boat. Your obedience, even when it feels illogical, invites God's acceleration. Before July 7, God is compressing time, aligning opportunities, and releasing favor that defies human effort. Your surrender is the bridge to this divine shift. I recall a time when I felt stuck in ministry, wondering if God's promises would ever come. But He prompted me to keep preaching, to trust Him. One obedient step led to a crusade where thousands met Christ. Your obedience is no different. God is watching your response. Will you move when He says move? Release when He says let go? Your yes is the spark for acceleration, turning waiting into walking, pressing into possessing. So what will you choose today? Will you surrender fully to God, or will you hold back in fear? The enemy wants you to delay, but God says now is the time. Pray right now. Lord, I surrender all. Accelerate your plan in my life. Step out in faith, even if it's trembling faith. Trust that God's timing is swift and sure. Your obedience is unlocking a divine shift, and heaven is moving on your behalf. My dear friend, slow your heart and listen. God has not forgotten you. His promises stand firm. As Hebrews 13:5 assures, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. Every tear, every prayer, every obedient step has brought you to this moment. Before July 7, a divine shift is coming, not because of your strength, but because of God's faithfulness. He's aligning doors, conversations, and miracles with your name on them. Your pain has been purposeful, your waiting sacred, your obedience powerful. Now is the time to surrender fully. Come to the cross, lay down your doubts, and say yes to Jesus. Whether you're seeking salvation, restoration, or revival, He's waiting. Trust Him and watch heaven move. God bless you.